Okay. So welcome, I'm Karen Lindwall-Bourg with the National Association of Christian Women Entrepreneurs, and we're trying to put together a really great membership directory so you can find people and know exactly what they have to offer and click a button easily and just go there and get there. So obviously NACWE is your go-to place for Christian women entrepreneurs because we have a connected community so you don't feel so alone. We offer networking opportunities face-to-face on Zoom on the first Tuesday of every month, and then every Monday in every group that we have 3 different groups. You should be putting yourself out there. And we offer education every single week, actually twice a week now in 2019. That's a new event. And then we offer mission opportunities so you can pay it forward. And when God blesses you in your business and ministry, you can bless others as well. I love that about us. I think that kind of sets us apart. So we're here today with Kathy Widenhouse, and we're going to interview her so that you can find her, again, at the click of a button. So Kathy, before you even introduce yourself and where you might be from and all of those interesting tidbits that we love to hear and know, and how many grandkids you have or whatever, tell us first why you do what you do. And I always ask people to tell me why you do what you do without telling me what you do. First, tell me why.
Sure. Thanks for having me. I'm just so glad to be a part of this and to be a part of NACWE as well. I had a first career. I was a musician. My husband and I were in the service. We were in the United States Marine Band, the President's Own, which provided musical support for the White House and the State Department. Wow. And so we were in the service for 20 years. I know I'm a Marine, a retired Marine, if you can believe that. Anyway, and during that time, during the last several years that we were in the service, we talked a lot about what we wanted to do when we grew up, when we graduated from the service. And I've been teaching some classes at my church. And I discovered as I was teaching these classes that there wasn't at that time a lot of really good content for the adult Bible classes. Things have really grown in the last 20, 25 years, so much, 30 years. But I was creating my own content and leading these classes. And there was a woman in my class who was an English teacher. And she said, "Oh, this is great. You know, this stuff is so good. Have you thought about writing for other organizations? Have you thought about, writing after you are done in the service?" And I said, "No, I hadn't thought about that. I mean, I'm not," at that point I didn't know much about writing at all. I just knew I loved to read. And so anyway, that led me to explore how I could use my skills that I'd acquired just by organizing and presenting content to classes. And I took some correspondence courses at that time. It was 25, 30 years ago. Online classes weren't what they are today, obviously. And so I started taking writing classes in the last several years that I was in the service, and I started getting articles published. And one thing led to another, and I had a book contract before I left the service, and I finished that. And I took a copywriting course and a course on how to market my services. And I just felt like, even though I really had skill, obviously in the music area, I have a master's degree in music, that I felt really like a heart pull. My heart was pulled to write for ministries, for nonprofit organizations and the Christian market, because of what my friend said. There's a real need for content. And so I created my own marketing package and sent it out. The first summer that I'd graduated from the service, I sent it out to about 800 ministries. I sent 30, 40, 50, 60 letters a week. And I got my first clients, and I have been writing content for ministries ever since.
Awesome. Listen, thank you for Go ahead.
Well, I discovered that so many ministries need content writing. And, when you think of ministries needing a website or content, I'm not talking about the really multi-million dollar budgeted ones. There's There's thousands and thousands of small ministries and mid-sized ministries and nonprofit organizations that need that kind of support.
Well, I was going to just say thank you for your service. We had 3 Army men in our family and 1 Air Force man in our family, and so we really appreciate military service people. So thank you for what you did, and it's so fascinating that the Lord led you from there to here. And you're right. I mean, even as a young budding counselor, I didn't know how to write my own content. I mean, since then, when I became more interested in entrepreneurial pursuits, I started learning like you did, but I oftentimes needed proofreaders and editors and people to say, you haven't even told them, there's so many things you haven't told them. So I appreciate your expertise. I still need that expertise, especially the more things we write, we need help. So it's great. Tell me then, what's your ideal client's greatest desire? What are they looking for? Kind of told me, but.
Yes. So many leaders today wear so many hats, and you and I were talking earlier about that. And I'm sure those, other NACWE members watching this can completely relate. How many hats do you wear in one day? I mean, dozens probably. Yeah. So if they can pass off their content to someone on a per service or a per project basis or on a retainer basis, it can relieve them. Now, having said that, my ideal client doesn't want to have to chase me down, obviously, to get the content returned to them. The more I can keep on schedule with them, and I often have to gently pester them to give me what I need so I can write for them what they need. But I work really hard to keep them on or ahead of schedule with their content. This seems to really help them a lot because that frees them to do other tasks in their ministry, what they really want to do. And for me, it ends up being awesome because I've gotten to be on the front row seat of helping and being a part of all these different kinds of ministries across the country by writing for them.
So I write for myself, but I don't think that I could write and really represent someone else's voice. So that's why I think we need copywriters like you. That must be it seems to me that would be a huge challenge. You've already kind of given me a hint of how much you enjoy this, but tell me a little bit more about some of your personal joys of entrepreneurship, maybe even some of the challenges.
Right. So I think when I first started writing, doing freelance content writing, one of my goals was to be able to work from home and to work for myself. When we got to that point where we were retiring from the service, our children, we have 2 children who are grown adults now and off the family payroll. They're working for them, in their own jobs. But at that point, one was entering high school and one was entering middle school. And I just wanted to be able to be a part of that whole thing. So the idea of working at home and working for myself was really appealing to me. Now, I'm sure everybody out there can totally relate to the opposite side of the coin, it's a double-edged sword. That office is always sitting there and you're always tempted to walk back into it. So I've learned and am still learning. I'm still a work in progress, but I really am learning to say, okay, I'm going to do client work during these hours and I'm really going to try to finish it during that time. And sometimes there'll be a project, maybe occasionally like a grant application is due for a client and there is a hard deadline, or I've been finishing a personal project and pushed off a client piece. There'll be times where I obviously am working on client work at a non-designated time, but I've had to really work hard. I've had to really work hard at that because I am a little bit of a workaholic, I would say. So that's definitely been a challenge. I think also it's been a joy to see for my clients how writing for them helps clarify their message.
Mm-hmm.
So many times, small organizations, small businesses, or even mid-sized organizations, they know what they're doing. They know what they want to do. They know their service. They know how they're impacting their customers, but it's very hard for them to clarify things in writing. And so that's been really, really fun to sit down with them and to listen to them. That's how I get their voice. I just listen to them and copy what they're saying. It's not very scientific. But then I help them clarify what they're doing. I try to ask really good questions and get them to say what it is they want to say. And then I go back and I pray through all that content and I just kind of process it and distill it down for them. And that's really, really fun and very gratifying for me and super helpful for them. So that's a joy I have, and seeing them grow. And then I think another joy I have is I would say, a fairly significant core group of clients that I've had long term. I don't necessarily look at a relationship as, a one-off, I'm going to do your website and be done. I really like the fact that I feel I can minister to them and be a support for them. A lot of times I'll pray with my clients when they're going through a tough time, or they're searching for an answer to something, or figuring out a ministry approach in a certain way. So I've had clients for more than 10 years, some that are in my stable of clients. And that helps because then I can help them hone their message, and we get really efficient at it. So that's been really a lot of fun, and brought a lot of joy, I think, to them and to myself. And, I've touched a little bit on 3 challenges I face. I touched on one, which is the time and the space, this time, limiting myself with the time. I also, you and I shared really briefly before we started the call about technology. I love words, and I love concepts, and I love processing it. And I really don't like having to learn to use a new piece of software, but I'll do it if I must. So that's been a challenge. And I take things one at a time, and I've learned to pad my time more with learning, to take a lot more informational webinars to help me learn how to use a new piece of software or a new product. And then I think the third one, another thing, a third challenge I have is setting priorities. With where do I put my time and my creative energy into my projects? And I've had to learn that my best writing time is in the morning, the first few hours in the morning. So wherever possible, I try to schedule client meetings or review or uploading content, stuff that is requires less creativity. I try to schedule that later in the day, and my more creative time in the morning.
I think my most creative time is in the mornings as well. And so I read the book, I think it was the 12-week year, and he said, block off, you have a strategic block of time where you are really cranking it out. You are really working on something that needs your full attention, and it better be when you're your freshest and when you work the best. I think that's half the battle right there. I'm so glad you said that. What else would you add to this whole mix? I'm going to ask you, what are you, if I'm the go-to, the lead entrepreneur that you need to call for this, but before you fill that blank in for me, what else might you add, and where can we find that book, or do we need that book, or where's your web? Give us how to go find you, sort of.
Sure. Right. Just a couple things in that, just to fill in the blanks for you. So my website is nonprofitcopywriter.com. Nonprofit copywriter, it's all one word, .com. And in addition to doing client work, writing content for ministries and nonprofits, I've also written 7 books, and I'm getting ready to record my first course. I'm almost done writing it. So what I'm doing now in my work is not only providing client work, but I want to move into providing resources for entrepreneurs, leaders, content writers, to give them the tools to learn to write content for ministries or for Christian blogs. And I guess I I'm driven to do that because of my journey. I had to sift my way through so many different courses to learn how to write an article, and if I can streamline that, if I can streamline how to write a newsletter for a content writer, or, what's the lead article you should put in your newsletter. I want to help leaders do that. And so there's I post new content every week on my own website. I'm a nonprofit copywriter. So in addition to my client work, I also help these books and creating now resources for writers. So I'm building a whole new audience of Christian writers and content producers. And I also operate a couple of just fun hobby sites, tomatodirt.com and cookieelf.com, that are just fun, and they create affiliate income. It's just another stream of affiliate income. And I do a little bit of speaking too, as well. So I guess what I want to share is, if you are a leader or an entrepreneur that needs content, I'm going to be helping. I already produced that on my website for you, and I'm starting to create resources for that. But to answer your question about who am I the go-to person for, I would say to you that I am the go-to person for ministry content writing made simple.
Awesome. So I'm going to ask a quick question. I didn't prep you for. So I didn't know you had 7 books, so I should have done my research. But that's good to know, and I'm assuming I can find them all on your website. So you know me, yes. I am the National Association of Christian Women Entrepreneur type, and so of course you know the type. You're part of us. What's the first book we should grab as Christian women entrepreneurs? What's the first one?
From your stable of 7. I would encourage y'all to go grab my latest book, which is called Just Take a Step. And it's a short devotional Bible study for the busy and overwhelmed. Okay. And it's, I know. Why do you think I wrote it? Anyway, I wrote it. I spoke at a women's retreat last year, and the book is based on the life of Lydia in the book of Acts. And she occupies just 3 little verses, but it goes through 8 characteristics of what Lydia did. And she was an entrepreneur. And that's what I love about her. But it goes through 8 things, 8 characteristics of Lydia that we can learn from her as women, as believers, as entrepreneurs, and how we can get so overwhelmed. But the whole gist of it is, God only calls us to take one step at a time. We don't have to, we should be planning and look at the big picture. But when I try to do a million different things and think I have to grow in a million different ways, God's saying, no, wait a second. Take one step, then I'll show you the next step. So that's the book I would recommend. Just take a step.
Okay, thank you. I so appreciate it. Let me pray for you. And so the new endeavor was packaging a course. Just out of curiosity, what tool are you going to use to package the course?
I haven't decided what online platform yet to put it on, but it'll be an online course. It's going to be based on my book, Writing Devotionals That Stick. So anyone that wants to write devotionals, and I know a lot of Christian leaders do that, it's going to take you step by step through how to do that. So you can go to my website and opt in and get all the announcements, and you can even get a discount down the road when you can get it at a big discount when it's released.
We love discounts, yeah, and we love being the first one in there. So let me pray for us and for people who might be listening in. Lord, thank you for this short and sweet time with Kathy. We're grateful for people who can write for us, and like I said, write with our voice and even feel our heart, because I struggle with making my own voice clear and making my own heart and passion for what I'm doing communicated well to others. And so I would pray that you would bless her as a nonprofit copywriter. These books, Lord, I pray that you would a blessing over these books, and especially this new course that's being developed. Lord, I pray that it's not just NACWE members who will come to this page and see our interviews. So I pray that you would bring, and you do, the right person to the right person at the right time. and with that this tool really will be blessed by you. We just want to be entrepreneurs and as Christian women that serve others and serve you well. We want to hear you say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." And we want to know that we've made a difference in people's lives. And so help us to do that, Lord. Help us to do that in ways that please you. And we ask these things in Christ's name. Amen. Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
Oh,